Think anyone ever reads that? It's time for seasonal rebirth. Let's check out those rare cartoons that may have started out as disjointed trash piles, but steadily became decent or sometimes even phenomenal cartoons. While most cartoons start out a bit dodgy in their first episodes as they establish an identity, some cartoons make such a massive improvement that you'd swear they were completely different cartoons. So let's check out the top 6 bad cartoons that got good. Number 6. Sonic Boom. Well, I don't think Sonic Boom was ever outright terrible. The show started out as a pretty below-average by-the-book Sonic cartoon with pretty weak stories. Episodes like Eggman staying over at Sonic's place or Tails being fired just felt predictable and kind of dragged out for too long for me. But by season 2, Sonic Boom had become a far more insightful parody of action-adventure films and culture in general.
Have a little faith in the democratic process. It always comes through.
It's a landslide! Eggman City triumphs with a record 98% of the vote.
I think the secret behind this was that the series became a lot more self-aware and satirical.
Dr. Eggman's schemes aren't fiscally motivated. I mean, they're barely motivated, period. Haven't you ever seen this show?
By season 2, Sonic Boom had a lot more clever wordplay, and even gave some funny social and political commentaries. I actually felt like some of this was the kind of commentaries I might hear in a Futurama episode. I particularly get a kick out of some of the clever wordplay in later seasons.
I haven't felt this horrible since I accidentally saw Comedy Chimp's swimsuit calendar.
They're simple and quick jokes that may not have left me in stitches, but left me chuckling. There's this sarcastic, quick-witted tone to the characters, but not in an overbearing, annoying way. It's just self-aware and quick enough to be a show you're likely to get a few chuckles from every episode. If you'd like an example of a good Season 2 episode, I'd recommend Season 2 Episode 18, Unnamed Episode. Apparently they didn't name this one. You're not helping my point, writers. Sonic Boom isn't going to blow anyone away, but it doesn't try to. I personally found Season 2 good for a quick chuckle. And for number 5, Clarence. In Season 1, Clarence tended to gross me out, and it always felt pretty mindless. It just felt like it had nothing to say with its goofiness. And at that point, Clarence was tipping far more on the annoying side of the scale than charming. But by Season 3, I was finding the characters kinda charming, and just plain pleasant to watch. At this point, the voice actors have really mastered their characters, and there's this slow, atmospheric pace to the scenes. Rather than changing scenes every half second, kids are allowed to soak in the atmosphere bit by bit. New Clarence episodes actually remind me of We Bare Bears. It becomes a very intriguing slice of life story. For me anyway, the new seasons have just fine-tuned that nostalgia of just watching kids be kids. I mean, Clarence can be silly, odd, and unpredictable. That's part of his character, but that's what real kids are. Begin! All the characters started to grow on me. I like the teachers, Clarence, Sumo, Jeff, and their parents. The parents feel like real adults struggling to know how to best support their kids rather than just the parent stereotypes.
Hi, Mom! It's Clarence, your son!
Guys!
We made dinner!
Each character felt real and like their own separate person just doing the best they can every day. When Clarence was told he was moving schools, I felt legitimately concerned for him. New Clarence ended up reminding me of a good Hey Arnold episode. A bit like Steven Universe, Clarence developed a real sense of friendship and human warmth. And I'm happy to say, I do recommend Clarence's 3rd season. And for number 4, Uncle Grandpa. I've talked about Uncle Grandpa's improvements before, so I'll try and keep it brief. But Uncle Grandpa saw a fairly drastic improvement, going from what I thought to be one of the worst Cartoon Network shows to a more normally paced, reasonably good parody of modern situations with some interesting characters. By Season 3, there's just a steadier pace to episodes. We get some fun settings like Uncle Grandpa setting up an amusement park, or a kid asking Uncle Grandpa for actual duck clips for Facebook likes, or even meeting the mysterious super robot Weird Pal.
Say hello to the new me, Weird Pal!
How did they get a cameo from Weird Al on Uncle Grandpa anyway? But by this point, most people had made up their mind about the show. They, understandably after 2 seasons, decided the show was trash and weren't willing to give it another chance. So eventually, the cartoon was just destined to be cancelled. Uncle Grandpa managed to get just good enough to be classifiable as good. And the third bad cartoon that got good is VeggieTales.
Have we got a show for you?
This cartoon started out as a fairly preachy, very oddly CG show, mostly about produce answering questions about, well, forgiveness and God. For example, some of Season 1's titles included God Wants Me to Forgive Them, and Where's God When I'm Scared? And the way these two pieces of creepy produce started by constantly mugging the camera with their fumbled, ugly designs.
The Grapes of Wrath.
Early on, the animation was not too far off Dorbies and ugliness. And seriously, what is this? Is my monitor broken? But steadily, not only did their animation budget increase, but the voices became more harmonious, and the settings became a lot more creative. What started as some pretty simplistic god-worshipping parables had steadily turned into more intricate, fun Disney parodies like Snooderella or Pistachio, or sometimes just a heartwarming slice of life story, with some cheery songs thrown in and some fun parodies of popular culture. I personally think VeggieTales is easily among the best religious cartoons. And by later seasons, that religious agenda had taken a bit of a sideline. It became more about just being a good person. There's just a stronger self-awareness and a better understanding of modern culture in new episodes. The later episodes of VeggieTales set a new standard for religious cartoons. Not that there are very many good religious cartoons. Well, there aren't any! And the second bad cartoon that got good is Bojack Horseman. Bojack actually started out as fairly generic, with some cheap, raunchy jokes and a fairly one-dimensional, unlikable main character, with no redeeming qualities. But something happened. By the second series, I was hooked and absolutely invested. By the third series, I even had a few dawning moments where I actually had to pause the show for a moment to reflect, and just say, what did I just look at?
And if you ever try to contact me or my family again, I will fucking kill you.
Bojack becomes a show I still have trouble putting my finger on. It creates deeply flawed, relatable characters you want to see succeed. It shines moments of clarity on existential dread. It's a show that simply left me reflecting. By season 3, Bojack became a series that you won't necessarily be laughing at, but will probably remember vividly. There's so many questions posed about what it is to find personal contentment.
It takes a long time to realize how truly miserable you are, and even longer to see that it doesn't have to be that way.
About the purpose of success. Questions like, do people want to know you, or the character you pose? I mean, one episode will have Bojack underwater with zero dialogue, yet still managed to portray him with so much atmosphere and emotion that it was among the best episodes in the series. It eventually became the best cartoon sitcom I've ever seen, and certainly among the best sitcoms I've seen. And on the side, it can be funny as well. How Bojack Horseman steadily grew from a lowbrow, plotless sitcom to a meaningful, relatable, funny, and very rewatchable cartoon is incredible.
Can you believe that guy? What a nut, right?
I just want to go home.
And before we get to number 1, I'd like to give the usual quick honorable mentions. The Amazing World of Gumball. This one didn't make the list because although this one got recommended a lot, I thought Gumball was pretty good from the beginning, though it's certainly improved as well. By season 3, it had really worked out some of the more annoying kinks of the show. Some of the more annoying character traits were toned down, and the characters really found their groove. Adventure Time. This one got recommended a lot, but I never thought Adventure Time was that bad in Season 1. But I personally think it's grown so much since Season 1 in sophistication, story, character development, and insightfulness, that it's appealing now to an older demographic. Some people argue that later seasons have gotten a bit too in-depth and abstract though, which I can certainly understand. And with those said, here we go. And the number 1 bad cartoon that got good is South Park. Make no mistake, I adore South Park. It's among my favorite cartoons now, but I personally think South Park Season 1 was pretty bad.
Dude, they did, huh? Aliens stuck stuff up your ass. No!
But I can't think of another cartoon that has improved so much over 20 years. Matt and Trey have always been trying to top themselves over the years, always trying to be current, always trying to make their characters more relatable. How they've been going for nearly as long as The Simpsons, yet somehow managed to top themselves over and over again is an almost supernatural feat. 20 years. That shouldn't even be possible. While I've heard people say The Simpsons got bad around season 10, I've never actually heard someone say South Park has ever gotten outright bad. It's become more topical, current, and can sometimes push its point too strongly.
Go direct from thought to internet. Wish shitter.
Or be hard to keep up with, but it remains an insightful, thoughtful, funny cartoon. Does anyone remember how the show started in season 1? It looked abysmal, was mostly gross out jokes and crap jokes, but damn!
Yes, people can get hurt. That's how terrorism works. But if you give in to that, Doug, you're allowing terrorism to work. Do the right thing here.
In later seasons, it evolved to be so insightful, so topical, and arguably one of the best cartoons of all time. I personally don't think earlier seasons nearly had the sophistication and topical intelligence we see in it nowadays. Throughout the years, people moved on, controversy continually flared, the world changed. Trey and Matt even had their lives threatened by extremist groups. But despite all that, South Park continued to grow and improve, continuing to always be there when the world needed it, always ready to slap extremist nonsense, corruption, and public stupidity in the face with a wet fish. People have studied South Park, books have been written about it, nothing has ever managed to stand in the way of South Park. And I can't think of another cartoon that has improved so much over the years. I don't know how long they can continue to be relevant, but South Park remains an inspiration, not just among cartoons, but entertainment itself. South Park never had seasonal rot. It had seasonal rebirth.
Do you really think my hat is stupid? As a matter of fact, I think it is the nicest hat I've ever known.
Seeing a cartoon grow rather than stagnate is a pleasant thing to highlight rather than always looking at downfalls. And these cartoons highlight that seasonal rot is not inevitable. With heart, a strong effort, and passion, a cartoon can adapt and change with our world, always there to be a little extra comfort when we need it. Well, thanks for watching my review. Also, a special thanks to my patrons on Patreon. This is a full-time job for me now, so if you'd like to help support my channel or help vote for a cartoon review, you can check out my Patreon at patreon.com/PhantomStrider8. I really appreciate it. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.